Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting straight into something really fundamental, aren't we? Effective communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're using excerpts from Decoding Communication by Girish, Jain, and Manzoor, Moideen. It's framed as a pretty comprehensive handbook.
Right. And our mission here for this deep dive is basically to pull out the really critical stuff, the proven ways you can actually get better at communicating.
Making those sometimes complex ideas feel practical, sort of ready for you to use right away.
And we're going to uncover some, I think, quite surprising things along the way.
Mm-hmm. Like why saying please actually matters so much.
Yeah, or when having too much back and forth communication might actually be a downside.
And that story of the JFK speaking speed is fascinating too, what that tells us.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The core idea the source really hammers home is that communication isn't just, sending something out. It needs to be two-way.
Exactly. There's input from an expert, as Nanafis, who highlights that our ability to share thoughts and feelings, well, that's key to human advancement. It's essential for growth. So good communication always needs some kind of response from the receiver.
That's the idea. But, and this is important, it doesn't have to be words, right?
Ah, right. Like nonverbal cues.
Yeah.
A nod, maybe, or facial expression.
Exactly. Those count. They complete that loop, that back and forth flow.
Okay, but then here's one of those twists the source brings up. While two-way is usually seen as vital, there can be a negative side, especially in, say, business contexts.
Yeah, it sounds a bit weird at first, doesn't it? But think about just like sheer information overload.
Okay.
The source mentions managers potentially getting something like 150 emails a day. Imagine if every single one needed a full two-way discussion.
Right, things would just grind to a halt. That makes sense.
And there are specific examples like fire safety instructions. You need clarity and speed, not endless questions right then. Or like project deadlines. Sometimes you just have to cut off the debate about suppliers or scope to actually hit the deadline for a proposal, right?
Exactly. There are moments where, the need for quick action just has to override that desire for exhausted back and forth.
Okay, so moving from that core concept to the actual tools we use, articulation comes up as really vital.
Mm-hmm. Articulation, speaking, fluently and coherently.
And the source emphasizes why it matters. It's not just about sounding clever.
No, it helps you lay out your ideas logically,
Yeah.
precisely. And that, in turn, can actually, deflate anger and help resolve conflicts much better.
So it's about having that clear thought process before you even open your mouth, framing the words mentally.
Yeah, there's that Stephen King quote in the source. The thought process can never be complete without articulation. It's like the final step.
The bridge between thinking and actually being understood. And crucially, it's presented as a skill you can develop.
Absolutely. Through practice, patience, being thoughtful. It's not just innate talent, though some might find it easier.
It even gives a phonetic example, like how you make the B sound in bed, that level of detail.
Right. And another thing you can control in your delivery is your speaking speed.
Ah, the JFK point. This is so interesting. He holds a world record, apparently. 327 words per minute in one speech.
Crazy fast. But then, for his inaugural address, a speech needing real weight and impact.
He slowed right down, 96.5 words per minute, the slowest in like 60 years of inaugurations.
Yeah, it just shows, doesn't it? The right speed isn't one size fits all. It depends entirely on the message, the moment, the impact you want.
And speaking of impact, that ties right into confidence. The source quotes Indra Nooyi.
Oh yeah, the sit up, sit at the table, and speak with confidence. That's half the battle done line.
It's powerful, and it links to physical presence too, how you hold yourself.
Definitely. Sit or stand straight, chin up. It projects confidence. The source even warns against, too much fidgeting with your hands.
Why is that?
It can signal nervousness, apparently. And people might end up watching your hands instead of listening to what you're actually saying.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. And eye contact comes in here too, though we'll get more into the nuances of that later.
Right. But the basic idea is that how you carry yourself physically really impacts how people receive your ideas.
Okay, so here's a really practical tip the source gives for guiding conversations: becoming a question warrior.
Yeah, and it sounds aggressive, but it's not really about that.
No.
No, it's more strategic. It's about favoring questions that start with what and how over ones like why, when, which, or where.
Oh, that's specific. Why, what, and how.
Well, the idea is they tend to open things up more. They uncover more information, guide the conversation towards understanding or finding solutions.
Instead of getting stuck on maybe blaming with why, or just facts with when or where.
Exactly. It sort of steers the discussion in a more constructive direction.
Interesting. And connected to that, I suppose, is the use of I feel statements.
hmm These have a specific structure, according to the source. It's like, I feel the actual emotion when the specific situation or timing because you're reasoning.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Like, I feel appreciated when you take time out of your schedule for me because it shows I'm a priority. Or maybe I feel frustrated when I come home and see duty clothes on the floor because we agreed we'd keep the space tidy.
Right, they sound simple, but the point is they help the other person understand your internal state without necessarily feeling attacked or blamed.
Yeah, it shifts the focus to your experience and what you need, guides things towards solutions, hopefully.
Though the source does caution that people sometimes mishear them. Right.
Yeah, they might hear it as a hidden thought or criticism, not a genuine feeling. So delivery and phrasing really matter there.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The nonverbal stuff. Body language, facial expressions, gestures. The source throws out a pretty big number here.
The 93% one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
93% of people apparently believe these nonverbal cues significantly impact the message being sent.
That's huge. And eye contact is probably the first one most people think of.
Definitely. It signals interest, attention, confidence, builds trust, all that good stuff.
But
There is. The source is quite clear. Unwavering, constant, direct eye contact. That can feel really unsettling, even creepy or threatening.
so the skill is in varying it, looking away briefly now and then.
Exactly. Make it feel natural, not like an interrogation. And you can even read things in blinking, apparently.
Blinking.
Yeah, faster blinking might signal stress or discomfort, while very infrequent blinking could mean someone's consciously trying to control their expression.
Huh. There's an anecdote in the source about that, isn't there? About a colleague named Laura.
Oh yeah, the one with the really intense, unblinking stare, maybe from a theater background or something. It just felt off, unnerving.
And culture plays a massive role here too, right? Eye contact norms are not universal.
Not at all. The example given is avoiding direct eye contact with women in some Middle Eastern cultures. You have to be aware of these differences.
Which leads nicely into proxemics, Edward T. Hall's idea about physical distance.
Right. The space between people actually communicates things non-verbally.
And he defined those 4 zones. Intimate distance.
Yeah, like 6 to 18 inches.
Hmm.
For people you're very close to, hugging, whispering.
Then personal distance, what was that? 1.5 to 4 feet?
That's it. For family, close friends, and even within that zone, closer tends to mean more perceived closeness.
Okay. Then social distance, 4 to 12 feet. This is more for acquaintances, colleagues.
Right. Maybe closer for people you know reasonably well, further out, like 10, 12 feet for less familiar people.
And finally, public distance, 12 feet or more.
Yeah, 12 to 25 feet. Think public speaking, presentations, talking to a whole class.
The key takeaway seems to be recognizing these zones exist, and crucially,
That what feels comfortable is really, really culturally dependent. What's normal personal space in one culture might feel like an invasion in another. It's a potential communication barrier itself.
definitely. So moving towards building relationships through communication, the source puts a huge emphasis on dignity and respect.
Dignity is defined really simply.
Right.
A person's right to be valued and respected.
It's fundamental, linked to human rights, a universal value across cultures.
And there's a distinction made between having dignity, which everyone does, and acting with dignity towards others.
Right, and acting with dignity in communication means things like, well, listening properly, treating people fairly, not interrupting constantly, speaking respectfully.
The source gives some really practical examples too, like asking people how they prefer to be addressed, not making assumptions based on their background.
Offering people time to talk properly. Even training for staff on how to communicate with people who might have cognitive or communication challenges.
Yeah, involving people directly for firsthand info, acting on others' ideas.
Yeah.
It's all part of showing that respect, valuing their dignity.
The car parking story about Phil and Edward illustrates this so vividly.
Oh yeah, where Edward just basically orders Phil to move his car. No, please.
And Phil's reaction is all about the lack of respect. He thinks, just asking nicely, a simple please.
And because of that, Edward's plans get messed up. He has to apologize later. All because that small word, that sign of respect, was missing.
It shows how much those little things matter and how valued someone feels. And that statistic is wild.
The 87% one. 87% of people believe they always show respect.
Yeah. It suggests there's often a big gap between our intention to be respectful, and how our communication actually lands.
Definitely. There's a mention of the book Conscious Connectivity as a resource that dives deeper into this link between dignity and assertiveness in conversation.
Of course, communication isn't always easy, is it? Especially when things get heated, emotions run high, or there's conflict.
That's when it gets really tough. Handling anger is a big piece of this.
There's input from Usha Rabashankar, who takes a pretty strong stance. Anger is never positive. Outcomes aren't fruitful.
Right. And displaying it can kind of give others permission to do the same. Her advice is about not taking work personally, letting ego escalate things.
And then Kami Naval adds that anger comes from angry thoughts. It means you've lost control, and it just shuts down communication.
Yeah, she poses that question, are you the servant or the master of your emotions? It's quite pointed.
The source makes the practical point that generally you can't just lose your temper at work, unless maybe you're the boss.
Huh, yeah, maybe. But there are ways to show frustration constructively, like that anecdote about the U.S. boss.
Oh, yeah, the one who frowned, but then said, like, can you please do me a favor? Can you please do it this way from next time?
Exactly. The frown showed the displeasure, but the words were respectful and offered a clear path forward. No yelling needed.
When it comes to arguments, the source uses a nice analogy, navigating them like a sailor in rough seas.
I like that. The advice is pretty grounded. Focus on one issue at a time. Don't bring up everything from the past. Avoid personal attacks.
Stuart Levine's advice is mentioned too. Address the real concerns. Get to the core of the issue.
And active listening, which we're about to get into, is highlighted as absolutely crucial for resolving conflict.
The story about the neighbors, Lisa and Shirley, is almost like a case study in how not to handle conflict.
Oh, totally. Shirley kicking off about the parking spot, knowing it wasn't hers, escalating it, getting the caretaker involved.
Ending up with ambulances and police, all seemingly stemming from a breakdown in communication and respect for a prior agreement.
And even that side detail, like Elvis's unhelpful text message excuse while his wife was dealing with it all, it just shows how little communication failures add up in tense situations.
So all of this really points towards the importance of listening.
Okay.
Properly listening.
Yes. And the source makes a really clear, important distinction between just hearing and actually listening.
Hearing is passive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Accidental, involuntary, just sound waves hitting your ear.
Exactly. Listening, though, is active. It's focused, voluntary, intentional. You're making a conscious effort not just to perceive the sound, but to interpret it, to understand the meaning.
Like the difference between background music just being on versus really listening to the lyrics of a song.
Perfect analogy. And the source is pretty critical of how our gadgets, our phones, have kind of wrecked our listening skills.
We've all done it, haven't we? That distracted while scrolling or typing.
Guilty. So, paying attention is foundational to listening. And it's more than just making eye contact.
It's about being fully present, ready to engage.
Yeah. Minimizing distractions is huge. Put the phone away and consciously try not to scan the room while someone's talking to you.
Oh, that's so noticeable when people do that, isn't it? Looking over your shoulder for someone more interesting.
It really is. And another layer is managing your internal distractions. Trying not to get hung up on the speaker's accent or their mannerisms.
Or letting your own biases or judgments get in the way of actually hearing what they're saying. The author shares his own experience with different Indian accents, recognizing them, but staying focused on the message.
Right. And then there's empathy, a huge part of effective listening.
Being able to understand and maybe even share the speaker's feelings, whether it's sadness or happiness or fear.
Exactly. And you show that empathy partly through your own facial expressions, maybe some verbal cues.
But even if you're not sure exactly what they're feeling, just nodding, showing you're present and trying to understand, that still helps, right?
Definitely. There's that relatable anecdote where the author is listening to his wife vent about something, and maybe his mind is wandering a bit, but he's still offering those simple interjections, nodding along, just providing that space for her to express herself, showing support. That's often what's needed.
That makes sense. Okay, so another big piece of the puzzle is tailoring your message, knowing your audience.
Yeah, this comes up again and again, and it's deeper than just age or gender.
It's about understanding their knowledge level, so you don't drown them in jargon they won't get or over-explain things they already know.
Exactly. And also considering their cultural or ideological background, avoiding sensitive topics like religion, maybe, unless it's genuinely appropriate for that specific audience and setting.
The author mentions actually asking organizers about the audience beforehand. Simple, but smart.
Very. And the source offers two interesting scenarios for thinking about your audience. One is when You are nothing like your audience.
Okay, what do you do then?
You have to rely more on imagination, maybe research, and really listen to what they tell you about their perspective.
And the other scenario?
Is when you used to be your audience. You have that shared experience, which is great.
But the risk is.
Sounding preachy, maybe. The advice is to focus on shared emotions and their current experience, not just your past one.
Got it. And in group settings, knowing your audience also means making sure everyone gets a chance to speak.
Yeah, allowing that equal freedom of expression. It's part of respecting everyone there.
The watch showroom story is a funny example of not knowing, or rather targeting the wrong audience.
Right. An 80% off sale sounds amazing, but the message wasn't actually aimed at the general public at all.
It was just for staff and their friends and family, so the communication failed for anyone outside that very specific group. Knowing who your message is truly for is key.
And language choice matters too, literally. Like the author choosing to speak in Hindi for an audience of blue-collar workers on International Labor Day.
That's a perfect example of adapting for maximum connection.
And keeping that audience engaged once you have them, that links back to knowing them, but also to your delivery skills.
The source contrasts that motivational speaker who kept a huge crowd totally glued for over an hour
with the author's own, perhaps more humbling experience of losing an audience halfway through a different talk. We've all been there, I think.
Maybe. The dirtboard analogy is good here. Stay focused on the main message, the bullseye, and don't let distractions or tangents pull you or the audience way off target.
Makes sense. And finally, the source brings in the ethics of communication, linking it strongly to credibility and trust.
Yeah, the message seems to be that being ethical is non-negotiable, no matter what.
There's the example of that online contest where students and parents apparently lied about getting outside help.
And they lost credibility because of it. The unethical communication damaged trust.
And the other example, Dr. Jude, the doctor who didn't tell the patient the full story about their diagnosis or her own lack of specialization in that area.
That's presented as a serious breach of ethical communication, undermining that fundamental trust between patient and doctor.
Absolutely. So when you pull all these different threads together, the overarching message from the source is really clear. Becoming a great communicator isn't some magic talent you're born with.
It's a skill, something you develop through time, practice, awareness, and probably learning from mistakes.
Definitely. Clear conversation and clear speech are called out as, necessary foundations.
And for continued learning, the source points to other resources, books like Never Eat Alone, Crucial Conversations,
Conscious Connectivity, Difficult Conversations, Crafting Your Message, even suggesting looking at YouTube videos. Plenty of places to keep practicing and learning.
It also briefly mentions some general tips for managing negative feelings or stress that can mess up your communication. Things like distraction, practicing gratitude, using your strengths.
While acknowledging, these might not be miracle cures for everyone, but they're maybe worth trying if stress impacts how you interact.
Okay, so just to quickly recap some of the big takeaways we've pulled out.
Yeah, let's do that.
Two-way communication needs a response, even if it's just a nod. Articulation is vital for clarity and even conflict resolution.
Nonverbal cues, body language, eye contact, distance they speak volumes, and you got to be culturally aware.
Dignity is fundamental. Treating people with respect often comes down to simple things like saying please or really listening.
Managing your own emotions, especially anger, is key for productive conversations. Don't be a servant to them.
Active listening is way more than just hearing. It's about interpreting and engaging. Big difference.
Knowing your audience inside out is critical for tailoring your message so it actually connects.
And finally,